On Tuesday afternoon, it was reported by a Woj that the Utah Jazz are going to start shopping Donovan Mitchell. And according to The Athletic, the Knicks are expected to be one of the top suitors to land Donovan Mitchell. Now, this news isn't exactly shocking. Once the Utah Jazz traded Rudy Gobert not so long ago, it was assumed league-wide that they would eventually trade Donovan Mitchell too and start their rebuild. And Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks rumors have been rampant for years now, and it makes sense. Donovan Mitchell is a local product as he's from Westchester. His dad works for the Mets, and Donovan Mitchell was at a Mets game not even 2 weeks ago. So it makes sense that Donovan Mitchell is immediately linked to the Knicks. So should the Knicks trade for Donovan Mitchell? Let's discuss the pros and the cons of a Donovan Mitchell trade in this video. The first major pro of acquiring Donovan Mitchell in a trade is that this would land the Knicks an elite talent who many would argue is a top 15 player in the NBA. Donovan Mitchell would very easily be the best player to put on a New York Knicks uniform since Carmelo Anthony. Ever since the Jazz drafted him, they've consistently been one of the top teams in the West, but the Jazz have failed to put enough talent around him to get further than the second round. He's also a great player performer. Don't let Mitchell's poor play in last season's playoffs fool you. He was dealing with a quad injury that brought down his level of play. Donovan Mitchell averages 28 points, 5 boards, and 5 assists per game in the playoffs for his career. He's outplayed plenty of superstars in playoff games, whether that's Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, or Russell Westbrook. In Game 1 of the Nuggets Jazz series back in 2020, Donovan Mitchell dropped 57 points in the first game, which is the third highest scoring game in NBA playoff history behind Michael Jordan and Elgin Baylor. He may only be 6'1" barefoot, but his off-the-charts athleticism, skills, and heart and passion for the game make him truly one of the best playoff performers in the entire league. He's a very questionable fit on the Knicks roster, which we'll get to later, but his elite status alone makes him a player the Knicks front office is likely salivating to acquire. It's very difficult to get a player of Donovan Mitchell's stature, and if you can, a lot of the times you disregard fit and just go get him. The next pro is that Donovan Mitchell fits the Knicks' current timeline and can give New York a wide window to contend. He's only 25 years old, meaning he hasn't even hit his prime yet. This could give the Knicks about a 7 to 8 year window to build around him and possibly contend with him. Now let's get into the cons. The first major con is the steep price it's going to take to acquire Donovan Mitchell. The Jazz are undoubtedly going to look to get a massive haul for him. He's a young star, and with 3 years left on his contract, the Jazz have leverage and can be patient and wait until they get a massive offer before they deal him. The Jazz just got back 5 first-round picks in exchange for Rudy Gobert, and Gobert is nowhere the talent that Donovan Mitchell is, so you already know they're not giving him up without getting back a monster package. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's no universe where the Knicks trade for Donovan Mitchell and don't include RJ Barrett. RJ is the best young player the Knicks have, so the Jazz will undoubtedly ask for him in exchange. And along with RJ, the Jazz will probably ask for a few of the Knicks' other young players like Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickley, and they're also going to want a multitude of future first-round picks. If you're the Knicks, you really have to ask yourself if you want to gut your team for Donovan Mitchell. A Donovan Mitchell trade would make more sense if there was already an established star on the team to pair him with, but that's not the reality. Julius Randle fell off a cliff last season after being an All-NBA player 2 seasons ago. Jalen Brunson could be an All-Star, but whether he'll make that leap or not is currently unknown. The point is, the Knicks are not in an ideal position to trade for a star. When a team trades for an All-Star player, they should already have a strong foundation. For example, when the Raptors traded for Kawhi back in 2019, they already were a consistent playoff team that just needed that legit superstar to get over the hump. This is why they were able to eventually win the championship. The Knicks are coming off a season where they were in the lottery. Sure, they do look improved, but it may make sense for the Knicks to build a winning culture before moving their pieces for an established star. The last con we'll discuss is the poor fit. If the Knicks trade for Donovan Mitchell, this would give the Knicks a pretty small backcourt. Both Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell are guards that are just a shade over 6 foot. They're both very good offensively, but neither are good defenders. Small backcourts aren't exactly a formula for success. Just look at the teams that have won a championship. Very few of them were starting 2 small guards. And this is because it's pretty hard to win when your backcourt defense is bad. Just ask the Portland Trail Blazers. Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson would probably be a very exciting duo and lead the Knicks to the playoffs, but most of NBA history would suggest that this isn't exactly a formula for true contention. If they were going to trade for a superstar wing player like a Kawhi Leonard would make a lot more sense for the Knicks. But that's going to be it for me. Now I want to hear what you guys think. Should the Knicks pull the trigger on a Donovan Mitchell trade? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for helping me hit 8,000 subscribers, guys, but let's get to 10,000 by the end of the year. Instead of pulling a trade for Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks may be better off developing their young guys. Click this video to see why Quentin Grimes of the Knicks is an absolute stud.